Hello yet again, Townsend 909 fans, or welcome to the channel. Today, this is the third video of today. Me and Bryers from Bryers Music Showcase, we will be reviewing the Mamas and Papas fourth studio album from 1968. I know, I know you're probably thinking, oh, there's probably going to be another 1967 album since two albums in 1 year, and then nope, this is 68. They only had one album in 67, and same with this year. They only had one album. Uh, this is called The Papas and the Mamas. Yeah, they switched the names by the Mamas and Papas. I always thought that was weird. Mamas and Papas and the Papas and the Mamas. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah,
Weird.
it's kind of
Like,
weird saying.
Yeah, like I've gotten so used to saying the Mamas and the Papas, saying the Papas and the Mamas. I'm like, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, any history lessons before our before we get into this?
All right. So again, not a whole lot, but like you said, this came out in May of 1968. Still produced by Lou Adler, and you still have the four. Probably the most notable things about this one is that this was mainly recorded at John and Michelle's house. They had made their own little makeshift studio, and so that's where a lot of the songs were recorded in. And I heard Lou Adler was not a fan of the recording of the circumstances. Kind of didn't think it sounded that great for recording, but they kind of just went with it. I couldn't find the specifics, but I read that Cass actually left very briefly. She left the band, but then she was convinced to come back in. I couldn't find the specific details surrounding that, but regardless, she's back in. And then of course by this point they're starting to fight some more. John was starting to pick up a drug habit, which was starting to take its toll a little bit. Even though this album still did pretty well, still was quite successful, it didn't quite reach the top 10. It was like the first album that didn't reach the top 10, but still made the top 20. So again, still did pretty well. But yeah, definitely feel that their popularity was starting to go down a little bit by this point. But yeah, did that affect my enjoyment of this album? We shall see, because I have not heard this album prior to this video. So this was quite a interesting experience.
Oh, so you only listened to it once?
Once, and then I was then before I would kind of briefly like listen to each song again to kind of refamiliarize myself. Like, okay, this is how the song goes. This is how the song goes. Okay, just a brief refresher.
You should definitely, if well, I'm not saying you're not going to like it, but if you aren't as crazy about it, it's definitely the most. I know I said for me it took Deliver was the one that took me the longest to get into, but this album is definitely the most you have to like get into. So
right,
if you're not like, oh, I'm not crazy about this album, it's definitely an album you have to listen to more than once. But yeah, first, well, I would say first song on the album, but it has its own song name, but it's actually part of the same song, The Right for Someone to Love and Safe in My Garden. It's basically just one song. Well, it's kind of like Heinz Baked Beans and Harmony Singing the Sky by the Who from Who Sell Out. Like, it's the same, it's on the same thing, but they have it as separate tracks. But for our review, I'm just gonna have it as one track. What do you think of it?
Yeah. If we would have had this separated, then yeah, the right Somebody to Love would have been last place, no doubt, no question, because it's just 40 seconds of this like spoken word type of thing that Michelle does. But since we're combining, I can let it slide. But yeah, Safe in My Garden, written by John. I think it was a really good song. I really enjoyed this one. Lyrically, they're kind of reflecting on the landscape at that time. Again, 1968, still have Vietnam. Civil rights is still a big issue. So that's kind of them kind of reflecting on that. So I thought that was pretty cool. This was one of the singles. It didn't chart very high. It only got to 53. So definitely not one of their highest charting singles, but still, I really enjoyed like the little flute solo towards the end. Again, I've always liked when they bring in the flute, kind of harkening to California Dreaming almost. The string arrangements, again, very nice, and the lots of layering in terms of the vocals. Like the vocal harmony are just layered on top of each other, and then just think it sounds really nice. So again, if we're just talking about Saving My Garden, really good song. Like, yeah, I really enjoyed that.
I love this song, these two songs. I love the spoken word. What makes life the sweetest, completest, or whatever? And he's like, "That's a big dollhouse or a Mickey
Mm-hmm.
Mouse for the right somebody to love." That's one of my favorite Michelle moments. If we were separating it, I would say it's probably their weakest opener so far.
Yeah.
Even yeah, but not that, but it's again they start off on a cover, and I'm just like, come on, But combine it, it gives it a lot more justification. Start off with like what I like. Start off with like a nice interlude with the instrument, with the nice original, like like the first two albums. I'm like dedicated to the one I love. But if I'm combining them two, this is probably my second favorite opener to a Mamas and Papas album. But yeah, Safe in My Garden. It's just I feel so safe when I'm listening to the song. We were hot wired, we but never known it.
Mm-hmm.
Take us away. Such a great song, and I agree. The flute solo at the end there, just chef's kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Next song on the album, Meditation Mama.
Yes. So this was actually interesting. This was it's co-written by John, and then Lou Adler actually also has a writing credit on this. So that's kind of interesting that he was involved in that. And yeah, you have John on lead vocals. Definitely one of the rare times he takes the lead. And I think I've said it before, but I think John's probably the weakest singer out of the four. But I think it kind of works for this type of song. Again, kind of based on the title alone, you can tell it has a very psychedelic influence, like a lot of 60s bands were. Definitely taking influence by a lot of Eastern philosophy. Just a song about seeking enlightenment. Um, yeah, this was it's still a pretty nice song. It kind of ranked about kind of somewhere in the middle for me, because maybe it's a bit too laid back um, for my liking, but it's very cool. I like the keyboard sounds, very interesting. Definitely catches your ear. Definitely something that they definitely have not done before this. But yes, it's an interesting song, but I liked it.
I really love this song. I think John's one of my favorite members off. Well, it's only four, but I think he's Mama Cass and Denny are like definitely the top two, but I
Mm-hmm.
love his vocals and yeah, he's such an amazing member on the band. And then you know, this was like before we started doing the series, I showed Breyer like two songs from the other albums, like the second, third, and fourth album, and this
Mm-hmm.
is one of them. And I think it's for a good reason because I love the song so much. I think I mentioned in to Breyer before, but this is their most experimental album. Definitely more so than their first three, especially the first one. I already mentioned this in the previous episodes. Every album has a different feel to it. The first album has more of that San Francisco fun sunshine pop, and that's amazing. And then their second album has more of that dark, spirited feel mostly. Third album has that lo-fi, smiley smile feel. And then this album has more of that experimental feel. And what I love about it is like it's very, what I consider to be very like diverse each album, I'd say. But yeah, this is an amazing song. I love it a lot. The next song on the album, For the Love of Ivy.
All right. Okay, so this is a John and Denny song. So those two wrote this one. Just another relationship type of song about unrequited love, something like on that lane. Definitely a bit more upbeat. Definitely quite enjoyable. Starts out kind of like your typical Mamas and Papas sound, but then near the end starts to keep building. They start adding bunch of stuff, a lot more layers to it, which was definitely kind of nice. They kind of did that. Because if it was just like kept it kind of traditional, then I'm not sure how high it would have ranked, but wouldn't make the top 5, but still enjoyable song. Quite liked it.
Glad you like that song because I actually despised it when I first heard it. I'm like,
Mm.
what is this Love of Ivy song? I'm just like, what is this? So
Mm-hmm.
unusual sounding. But
Yeah.
like I said, this is definitely an album that you gotta get into. I'm glad you like this song. I was afraid you were gonna be like, I could care less about this song, but I'm glad you like it. Now it's becoming one of my favorites off the album. I love the
Mm-hmm.
it's like this part where Mama Cass does that and just a weird vocal effect. And I'm just like, interesting. They were definitely experimenting with this album, and I like the effort because they do a good job when they experiment. Them and the Kinks, like they don't experiment that much, but when they do it really well.
Mm. Okay.
The only I wouldn't consider John's Toy Box to be an experiment. That's
Yeah.
just
No.
filler.
Yeah.
Because I know someone's be like, how about that John? I didn't know if you were gonna mention that. Like, oh, how about that song? That's a miss, but that would have been my argument.
Mm.
Next song on the album is one of Mama Cass's most famous songs, "Dream a Little Dream of Me."
Right. So this is a cover, and this song actually dates back to like the 30s. And yeah, you have Cass on lead vocals, and ironically, this song would kind of pretty much launch her solo career. Like when the band broke up, this is like her kind of the song that kind of launched her career for her, and for good reasons. I think again, her vocals sound really good. I think this song really suits her vocals very, very, very well. I really like the acoustic guitar playing on here. The bass playing also was kind of stood out to me. And yeah, just a great vocal melody. Especially the whole "Dream a Little Dream of Me." I think very, very nice, and yeah, just good standout track on here.
I love the beginning part. And now to
Mm-hmm.
sing us a lovely ballad, here
Mm-hmm.
is Mama Cass. Yeah, when I first heard that on my record player, I'm just like, whoa, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this is teetering towards middle to bottom of the album. I never been the hugest fan of this. This is probably one of my least favorite of the Mama Cass solo songs, like "I Call Your Name," "The
Mm-hmm.
In Crowd," "Words
Mm-hmm.
of Love," "Sing for Your Supper," and this song. I probably say this is more on the bottom of that as well. But yeah, this is a really good song. Mama Cass is really strong on it. But yeah, really good. Next song on the album, which before Briar, you give you share your opinion on that. This is part of a three-part song. I call it the Fame trilogy. I know it's not technically there technically isn't a Fame trilogy. I kind of like what Rush did with Fear, but Fame. I call it the Fame trilogy, where the first song of it is the most famous one of it is Hotel California. Of course, Hotel California. So many California songs. California Dreaming, them hoping for fame, trying to get to fame. Creek Alley, definitely the second, definitely very another one of the famous songs of the what I call the Fame trilogy. It's basically them in fame and them going like looking back, like, oh wow, this is how I became famous, and this is how we are famous. And then this song, Mansions, which is them looking back, and it was like one of my favorite lyrics was wondering why this isn't like the dream, like the California dream.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
wow, like we were dreaming of this, and we're wondering how is this not the dream that we were dreaming of? And when I first heard that lyric, I thought it was like, oh, that's a good lyric. But now I'm just like, wow, it's like basically dates back to California dreaming when they were dreaming of California. Now they're in California, just like this isn't like the dream we were dreaming of. This isn't the California dreaming. But yeah, it's cool. But yeah, what's your opinion of the song?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This was another great standout song on here. Yeah. This was written by John. Uh, it's about the same thing you were just talking about, just grasping with fame, and yeah, just really good atmosphere to it. Definitely has a more haunting tone to it to really reflect that that what John was probably going through at the time. And yeah, still some great harmonies throughout this one. I didn't write a whole lot about it, but it's just sounds a lot. Sounds definitely stands out on this album, and yeah, this was a pretty good one. So yeah, this ranked pretty high for me.
I love this song too. I'm so glad you like it. I was afraid that because this is another song I wasn't as crazy about, but now I love it. It just, especially knowing that this is a part of a trilogy of songs. This is definitely the. This is well, it's not definitely. Well, I wouldn't. It's no question. This is definitely no. This is the most hidden, most obscure of the three songs, and I think this song is just as good as the other three, if not, in my opinion, better than the other two. But I know one of them is Bryers' favorite song by them. I know that hasn't changed for you. I don't blame you. It's a great song,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not gonna say what it is. But I know one of them is. But yeah, but I love
Right.
this song. It's the harmonies, them sort of being like, "Wow, this is." I mentioned the lyric already, but basically them like, "Wow, is this really what we wanted? Is this really the dream we were dreaming of?" And it such a dark way to end off the first side.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
definitely up there with their songs with the second album, and I don't know. That's probably why it's my. It's probably why it's my favorite off this album. Spoiler alert. But yeah, it's great. Next song on the album starts off the second side of the record. It's a tiny snippet of the right uh, the right somebody to love, but like very short, and
Mm-hmm.
Gemini Child.
Right. What's interesting is that when you go on Spotify, they actually cut out the second "Write Somebody to Love" thing. They kept the first one in the beginning, but then they get rid of the second one. It just goes straight in the Gemini Child. Kind of interesting. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's why I wanted to combine it in the first one because
mhm.
I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not complaining about it though. But anyhow, but yeah, written by John. Now this was an interesting one. I am not sure how to feel about it. I'm kind of so weird. I don't know how to feel about it because there's some. But definitely the big thing that stands out. The guitar sound a lot heavier on this one, like way heavier than usual. Like most of the time, it's just acoustic guitar playing. Like if you do hear electric guitar, it's usually pretty. It's not like in your face or anything, but it's kind of like just in the background. But here, just like it's just in your, it's like this almost guitar riff type of sound, and I'm not sure if it fully works for them. I'm not sure if I want to hear them incorporate heavier guitar sounds on this one. I kind of just like it's probably not my preferred version way of listening to them. I didn't hate it, but it's just very I don't know. There's something about it just doesn't work for me. It starts out with that heavy sound, but then it kind of calms down. I'm like, okay, we're kind of coming down now. But then it kind of comes back, and it's like again, it's just I don't know. I don't know why this one didn't really work for me. Um, but it's not horrible. It's not the worst thing I've heard. But again, just kind of weird.
You only listened to the album once, and like the second time was like briefly going over it for more notes. But
Hmm.
let the song grow on you. It's a great song. I love this song. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's one of my five favorite songs on the album, but it's a song that I really enjoy. Again, this is another song that I had to let grow on me. Yeah, it's a really solid song. I really like it. I like the part where you say it slows down with the Gemini Child.
Yeah, I
Ooh.
did like that part.
That's definitely the best part of the song.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, it's a really good song. Uh, Definitely my least favorite of the side two openers.
Mm.
It's you know, I saw her again.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
Look through your window and California Dreaming. So it's gonna be hard to beat those three
yeah.
songs, but
Of course, yeah.
yeah, it's really good. But yeah, definitely, I wouldn't. It's not a Mamas and Papa song that I really go back to that often either.
Mm.
Next song on the album is a cover. Nothing
Right.
too good for my little girl.
All right. So now we kind of come back. This is what I like more. You have Denny on lead vocals, and yeah, of course he sounds really great on this track. Very nice song, good gentle piano with the vocals and some nice backing vocals as well. Didn't write a whole lot about it, but yeah, I quite like this one. This was very nice. This was a very nice listen.
Yeah, that's a really good song. I love the way Denny sings on this song. A Thursday my meeting, nothing's too good for my little girl. Give her the best I can. It's always first class for my little girl. It's
Mhm.
just I could just imagine like sort of like this like sort of like his Dream a Little Dream of Me of the album. Like
Mm.
Mama Cass had her shine on that song, but then like he had his spotlight on this song. I wish this was I would instead of Safe in My Garden being the single, this would have been a good single too. Like
Mm.
after that Dream a Little Dream of Me became famous, they could have had this song be famous too. Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
I can hear it. I probably hear it. I can see that.
But yeah, it's a really good song. Next song on the album, Too Late.
Too late. Okay. So now we have back to another original. And again, you have Denny taking mostly lead, but then Cass comes in as well. And again, I've always liked how those two voices really play off each other. I mean, goes without question, those two voices go really well with one another. This was another very pleasant song. It just barely missed the top five, but this is definitely an honorable mention. Yeah, it's just some nice piano playing, some good drumming on here. I like the different dynamics on this one, and the bass playing also very solid. Definitely stood out on this one. So yeah, this was a very good one. Again, just barely missed the top five, but I enjoyed this one.
Yeah, it's an amazing song. I love the song. I'm not gonna say where it ends up on where I put it, but yeah, it's a really solid song. I love the doom doom
Hmm.
doo, 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 doo. Sometimes I just go back to that part. It's just I love the keyboard part of that. I just oh man, love it, love it, love it, love it. Uh, Next song on the album is what I would say is probably the biggest, if not the second biggest, if not the biggest hit off the album. 12:30.
Yeah, yeah, this was probably the biggest single on here, and yeah, this was definitely. I mean, technically, their last like really big single. That charted pretty high. Of course, it was inspired by places in LA, the people they were kind of hanging around with, the groupies and stuff like that, and the access that comes with it. But this was a very catchy song. Again, some great has all the great qualities of the band, the harmonies, the melodies, just great playing. And side note, this was in a Quentin Tarantino movie, so there you go. So it definitely has not been forgotten in recent time.
Yeah, well, two of the Mamas and Papas songs were used in a well, one was used in a movie, and then one was used in a Quentin Tarantino movie trailer. Uh,
Mm.
the the part of the beginning part of Straight Tripper with Shooter with the dun 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 boom boom boom. But yeah, love this song. It's definitely in my top five. It's classic Mamas and Papas,
Hmm.
and definitely their last. Like you said, it's the last big hit before. I mean, they have one more album which we'll be reviewing, which is Contract Obligation album.
Hmm.
Always gotta mention that because this is their last really good album, and then yeah, they only have five albums, but still, it's quite the opposite of Simon Garfunkel. Like Simon Garfunkel had like four really good albums, and then they ended off on a perfect note, and then like the Mamas and Papas, they have like four amazing, four what I consider well, besides kind of over four like sort of like these brilliant albums, and then like that they end on such a weak note. But
Hmm.
uh, next song on the album is kind of in the same vein of heaviness. Rooms.
All right. Okay, so this one, another one. This is one of those songs I didn't have a whole lot to say about. Written by John. I mean, it starts out with some nice guitar. That was pretty good, and you even have a nice guitar solo in this one. But besides that, nothing else really stood out to me. It's pretty solid, but yeah, kind of again towards the bottom for me.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my least favorite songs on the album. It's definitely that and Dream a Little Dream of Me is like those two songs always gotta think which ones are my least favorite, especially after the first like after 12:30 too late and nothing's too good for my little girl. Like I don't know, it's just weak compared to those four songs too. But yeah, it's good, but it's just not top tier for them.
Mm,
Last song on the album, Midnight Voyage. Hopefully you listen to the full version.
I did. I did. All right. So, okay. Of course, you have Mama Cass taking lead mainly, and then you have the harmonies that come in. It starts out very nice. Like again, it starts out really good. Like this is sounds like it's some good old mamas and papas. But what's definitely very interesting is that at some point they are about to get to the climax, but then they stop, and then you hear a bunch of studio chatter. So you're kind of hearing some they're a lot back and forth until finally they come back for the big harmonized part, and then it just goes back into the actual song. Um, I don't know about you, but I kind of would have done without the studio chatter. I kind of would have liked it if they just went straight into it. But besides that little minor gripe, it's still everything around it still very good. I still think this is a solid album closer. But yeah, I just if they would have cut out that studio thing, then this probably would have ranked a lot higher. But still, very nice closing song.
I love this song, and I actually disagree. I actually it gives the song a little character to it, having the studio banter with the turn off the air conditioning. I with the he's like you're late, and it's like I'm not. And he was like, oh my bad.
Mm, yeah, I just think it goes on a bit too long.
It's not as bad as the Beach Boy ones off the Shutdown Volume 2, and
Oh yeah, well that's true. Yeah, that's true.
it's not nearly as bad as that. It's definitely if it was like 20 seconds longer, then it would have been as bad as that. But it's just long enough where I'm like, oh, it's a nice little interlude, like from the with the way she was singing softly in the beginning, but then like when she's like, "Come on and take a midnight voyage," it's just nice little interlude before that, But definitely a strong way to end off the album. I wish I could say this is a strong way to end off their discography, but alas, we still have one more album to review, and
Mhm.
yeah. Well, top five, honorable mention or dishonorable mention, and yeah,
All right. Hey, number 5, I'm gonna have "Dream a Little Dream of Me." Number 4, "Nothing's Too Good for My Little Girl." Number 3, "Safe in My Garden." Number 2, "Mansions." And number 1, 12:30. And I'll give one honorable mention and I'll say one dishonorable track. So, um, honorable mention that just barely missed top 5 is "Too Late." Um, and probably my least favorite song was "Gemini Child."
that's fair. That's fair. My number five is going to be the right to somebody to love slash safe in my garden. That's an amazing opener. Number four is going to be 12:30. I mean, what a brilliant song. I kept getting that recommended to me when I first started listening to the Mamas and Papas, and I'm like, dang, how
Mm,
good is the song if it keeps getting recommended on my YouTube on my YouTube
right.
page?
Yeah.
Number three, it's gonna be a big surprise. For the love of Ivy, love that
Hmm,
song.
okay.
Number two, I don't know if I said it, Midnight Voyage, and my favorite song on the album is the third part of the Fame trilogy, Mansions. For an honorable mention, I'm gonna go for Too Late. I actually agree that's a great honorable mention song. And did I say Too Late is on my list?
You said it was an honorable track, I think.
Uh,
Wait, which one did you
yeah, I
say?
put it on my list by. Wait, hold on. Let me. Oh yeah. So, sometimes I just think of the list on my top of my head, and sometimes I forget. Sorry,
Mm, that's all right.
I gotta think. Actually, hold on. One. I know Mansions is my favorite song on the album. I
Right,
know
yeah.
My Garden and The Right Somebody to Love is my fifth favorite, second favorite. Hmm. You know what? It's actually went up. 12:30 is my second favorite.
Okay.
Third favorite would be Too Late. Number four, For the Love of Ivy. Okay, so number five, Safe in My Garden. Number four, For the Love of Ivy. Number three, uh, Midnight Voyage. Number two, 12:30, and then number one, Mansions.
Yeah.
For yeah,
Yeah.
Dream a Little Dream of Me. I guess the honorable mention would be Nothing's Too Good for My Little Girl.
Okay.
What would your album rating be?
All right. So I will say I definitely prefer this over Deliver. I definitely think this is a stronger album that one. Um, Again, like you said, I probably need to listen to this more to maybe appreciate it a bit more. But it's going to get an 8.5, so still a pretty nice score. Um, but yeah, again, probably just need more time with it. Yeah, definitely an interesting album by them. But yeah, other than that, solid album.
Yeah, you gave the second album more chances, and you said the album really grew on you. So,
Mm,
like, there were some tracks that you didn't care for, like "Strange Young Girl" or whatever, and
yeah.
so yeah, maybe if yeah, it's definitely one where you have to listen to more than once for sure.
Mm-hmm.
My album rating,
We'll see how. Sorry, we'll see how my opinion changes when we get to when we get to the retrospective video.
yeah. That's a good way of putting it. My favorite on the my score is gonna be a 10 out of 10. I know, like I mentioned in the last video, I very generous with my scores. This is no exception to that. The only album, 60s Mamas and Papas album that didn't get a 10 out of 10 was the third album, but no, could you blame me?
Right.
There's like I already mentioned in that video, there's so many problems with that one. To me, this album doesn't have problems. It just it's just I don't know, maybe the sound isn't as good. I know in Taste Like Music, they had two of them had this as their best album,
Mm.
which is interesting.
Okay.
Who's either their favorite or their second favorite? I forgot.
Interesting.
But
Okay.
yeah, anything you'd like to mention before we close out the Mamas and Papas?
Not much else to say, but yeah, we have one more album to go. We'll see. I know we know Nick's opinion on it, but I definitely hadn't heard of it, so we'll see how I think of it.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason, for watching, because I know you're the only one watching this. And thank you for whoever watches the replay. See you guys in the next video. So long.